Last session before lunch, and a really exciting topic, we are going to talk about how you can deliver that right message to the right opportunity at the exact right time, and really connect your customer in a new way. And we've got a great presenter to talk about this topic today. We have Bertil Chappuis from McKinsey coming to talk on this topic. And let's welcome Bertil up on stage.
You know, in sales, you can't hide from reality. You either make the number or you don't. And that can be very energizing. You know, whenever I get asked to talk about sales, I ask myself, why do I find this interesting? Why have I chosen to do this at McKinsey, where you can do all sorts of things? And the reason is, sales is about making things real. It's about making products and services real for customers. It's about building real trust with customers and the people at those customers. It's about making your plans real and being successful. And we all want to be successful. So today I'm going to talk about what best-in-class organizations do to drive sales growth. But I'm not going to talk about it in the way that you may be used to it. I'm going to talk about sales as a business problem, and I'm going to discuss it from a strategic, organizational, and operational point of view. You know, if you think about it, most companies spend between 5 and 15% of revenue on sales costs. Now, that's a huge number. How you use that investment can make a massive impact to top-line growth and bottom-line performance. What I want to do is talk about how you take that 5 to 15% and make it 10 to 20% more productive. That's really important to your company's performance. So to do that, you need to approach your sales machine holistically. So let's turn to talking about how to make products and services real for customers. To use a hockey analogy, you've got to skate to where the puck is. You know, many companies, and we see this at clients all the time, many companies spend their time focused on where the business is today. Where are the customers and segments that are producing the revenue today? You know, the most successful companies actually look to where the opportunity is going to be next year and the year after. And they actually then invest behind that opportunity. And we've actually done research that shows that fast-growing companies proactively invest in the future. They put, on average, 4 to 6% of their sales expense investment behind opportunities that are at least a year out. And that's almost double the number of the slower-growing companies. You know, a great example of doing this is Google. Google monitors 140 million businesses worldwide, and they have built propensity to buy algorithms that link a set of observable variables to the propensity to buy digital advertising. They then monitor those variables almost on a real-time basis, and when they see what they call the fingerprint of an opportunity, they go after that customer with online and inside sales. You know, this approach has led to massive productivity improvements for Google. Now, once you've identified where the opportunity is, you want your sales folks and your partners to pitch the right way. And you shouldn't leave that to chance. You should apply process, science, and talent to the problem. And there's 3 ways you can do this. The first is to segment the customer base, to find the different needs of different segments. Now, with the availability of a huge trove of data and analytics, many of you have started doing this already. And it can yield amazing insights. But the second step, which is frequently ignored, is to actually teach your sales force how to listen actively. You need to hire for curiosity, and then you need to teach inquiry skills. We have a tool called Sales DNA, which allows us to analyze a sales force and break down the characteristics of a salesperson that are statistically correlated to performance. And guess what is frequently one of the top characteristics that drives performance? It's curiosity. Yes, curiosity. If you are genuinely curious about your customer, their products and services, how they operate as a business, the people at those customers, you are much more likely to connect that customer's needs with your offerings. In a day when there is a massive amount of data and complexity, curiosity is king, because curiosity allows you to delve in and keep asking the right questions. You know, in this case, it's not the cat that gets killed by curiosity, it's the competition. Now, the third thing you need to do is support that sales force with predictive analytics, next product to buy algorithms, and segment typing tools. The set of analytical support mechanisms that allow you to propose to the salesperson what they should be proposing to the customer. Now, once you've done these three things, marketing and sales need to be best friends. Marketing needs to provide insight about the customer. It needs to provide the demand generation and leads, and it needs to provide the communications and collateral at the right place in the sales cycle. You know, matching that marketing investment to the right place in the sales funnel is the surest way to get a return on your marketing investment. So let me turn to trust. And I'm going to start with a story about how do you build trust today in a world of digital, of all of the plethora of data and options, you know, the dizzying array of options that are available. Let me start with a story. So the CEO of a very large technology company visited one of their call centers, and this is a real story, a few months ago, and observed a set of young millennial inside sellers who they had hired as, frankly, an experiment, sell a multi-million-dollar complex computing-related solution to a university over the phone. She was frankly astonished, and she asked them, how were you able to do this without ever meeting the customer? Because the conventional wisdom up to that point was that you needed to engage the customer face-to-face and build a relationship over a very long period of time to build the credibility to do something like that. And so the reps told her, what do you mean we don't know the customer? You know, we FaceTime with them all the time. We're on social media. We share content. You know, we've built a relationship. We know a ton about them through the lead qual process. And you know what? They trust us. Now, you can imagine that those same customers, as they were having those conversations, were also fluidly moving across the web, connecting with with competitors, getting access to all sorts of information. You know, we all know that digital is disrupting the way we interact with customers. It's changing the way we engage with customers, creating all sorts of new opportunities. It's changing the way customers buy. And it's giving us a treasure trove of data that we can use to apply science to sales. But it's also changing the expectations that customers have about a salesperson. You know, the old and the new are coexisting, and it's getting very messy as old instincts get questioned. You know, the sales tasks get automated, and data scientists get to call the shots, or maybe not yet. In this world, the age-old empathy and communication skills are more important than ever. It's no longer the case that a salesperson can show up at a customer and simply bring product features and functions and information. They've got to bring competence and insight. They've got to listen actively, and they need to ask the right questions to connect the offering to the need. That ability is paramount. So that means you need even more empathetic, capable salespeople who need to be great athletes. Now, what do I mean by a great athlete? I mean people who are intrinsically strong and able to perform as things change. They rely less on experience and patterns of the past than on first principles problem solving, and have naturally high EQ. A lot of companies today, like SAP and Dropbox, just to name a few, have found that to get those sort of folks in the organization, it's better to actually go and hire college grads and train them. You know, these younger folks will bring not only the data science skills that they need to embed in the organization, but also are more natural at connecting with customers in a digital environment. Now, it's not that millennials are going to solve every problem, and experience still counts, but the mix has shifted. And a lot of companies are finding that a healthy dose of millennials is good medicine. Now, despite all of that, in our research we have found that 60% of companies feel they don't have the right talent in their sales organization for what the future holds. So let's talk about making your plans and numbers real. We've talked about how to make products and services real for customers. We've talked about how to build trust with those customers. But how do you do that predictably and at scale? And I'm going to propose that the answer is in sales operations and your operating model. So let me explain. Sales forces by definition are dispersed. They're dispersed across geographies, products, routes to market. But to drive sales excellence in an organization that is dispersed, you need by definition some level of centrally driven initiatives. Enter sales ops, which includes opportunity mapping, sales strategy and planning, capability building programs, compensation, design and delivery, and sales IT. What we find is that the best performing companies overinvest in sales operations relative to slower growers. And what happens a lot is as companies hit a downturn, the first people to go are the sales ops folks because they don't carry quota. But if you don't invest in those capabilities, you will simply not be able to drive the types of best practices that I've described. We've actually done the research and found that faster growing companies invest more in sales operations. In fact, on average, they have one sales operations person for every 1.5 folks in the field. Now, the IT backbone for that sales operations is also a critical thing that I want to leave you with. What we found is that a modular, almost Lego block-like approach to IT is a great way to introduce new capabilities, to test and learn, and to only keep what works. I've introduced sales planning software at clients that is up and running in a few months with minimal capital investment. So rather than using the classic rigid enterprise software on one hand or ad hoc Excel on the other, this planning software we're now using can actually allow you to build huge models with literally billions of data points, hundreds of people collaborating on it simultaneously, and instant analytics. That is the future. And we're doing much more of that these days with clients. So it's all well and good to do all of that. You also need to have the right operating model. You need to have the right decision rights and supporting processes to be able to make sales decisions on an ongoing basis. There's nothing more destructive in a sales force than to have, say, a product BU and a geography arguing over how to make a decision in the middle of a quarter. So how do you do that? So we like to use the term the orchestration model. And we think there's actually a right way to do this. We think the best orchestration model, at least for large multi-business companies, is to have a central organization that develops strategy and guidelines, orchestrates the planning, with the regions doing the deep operational planning, and then the countries or geographies executing. You also need to have clarity of responsibility across products, geographies, and segments, so that when you've actually planned, you can make decisions as you execute. This is super important. If you don't have this, you've got to address it. The lack of a good orchestration model will kill you, and you cannot get to an agile operating model without it. Take a small thing like forecasting. I see a lot of clients where the fundamental responsibility for forecasting is not clear. A simple thing like forecasting, there are multiple groups forecasting. It creates enormous confusion and burden on the organization. Now, we've talked a lot about what best-in-class organizations do. I want to talk now about how they make it real. And by the way, when I say best-in-class organizations, don't get me wrong. I'm not pretending that there are companies that do all of these things right. But you clearly see best practice in certain organizations, and even doing a few of these things well can yield enormous results. So let's talk about the how. The answer is that if you think about implementing a lot of these changes that I'm talking about, you're fundamentally changing the way a sales org works. It's not just about introducing concepts and tools. And what we find, both in our work and the research we've done, is that clear vision and strategy, and then leadership alignment and commitment are consistently ranked as the #1 factor in the success of a sales transformation. And in fact, I'll give you a statistic. 70% of these transformations fail, but they don't have to fail. There's actually systematic ways that you can drive success. Sales forces, as I said, by definition, are dispersed, and they have enormous insight about the customer. So there needs to be, in addition to the top-down direction and alignment, there has to be a bottom-up push to localize solutions, to test and learn, to experiment, and ultimately to drive the change management. I have a client who leads a very large sales strategy and operations team who told me the other day, the key to our sales transformation was the fact that the sales force, the field, felt that the company was investing behind them. Investing in identifying opportunities, investing in creating the right pitch with marketing, investing in the right sales operations infrastructure. With that type of investment and the right top-down and bottom-up approach, you can get real returns that are sustained and real. So thank you, and let's go make it real.
Great. Thank you so much, Bertil. All right. So that caps off our morning. We've had some amazing sessions today. We've heard about how to drive growth for your sales teams, how to become more customer-centric, how to build a better profile for yourself online and through social media. So lots of great topics. In the afternoon, it just keeps getting better. We have a ton of sessions in the afternoon, both here and on our breakout stage. So I highly recommend to go check out our mobile app and get a sense for what's happening in the afternoon and figure out where your next session will be. I now invite you to break for lunch. We have lunch out here in the expo area. Please take the opportunity to network with other sales professionals that are here. We've got a number of different activities out there for you to take advantage of. And again, thank you for attending Sales Machine.